that they're a pedophile or they're talking to little girls. You heard it again about a completely unrelated incident today. He manifests pedophiles everywhere to justify his behavior. Does the defendant's character and attitude show him unlikely to commit another crime? And from my perspective, I don't think I've seen anyone in my 19 years more likely to commit another offense than Logan Petrie, excuse me. He's a danger to everyone around him. And when I say that I believe that the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating factors, it's almost an insult to that phrase, that I've used it a lot over the years. Aggravation is all that you see here. When considering the reasons to impose more severe sentence, I urge the court to consider the following. The defendant has a history of prior delinquency. He was on court supervision for driving under the influence at the time of this offense. He was subject to a stalking no contact order at the time of this offense. You heard evidence of offenses that he was accused of committing: a home invasion, several aggravated batteries, both before he got arrested on this case and after. Cannot ignore the fact that it wasn't just this one-time thing. It wasn't the one time that he let violence get away from him. It's a series of abusive, violent, horrific incidents that started from just charging into an old friend's house and beating him up and attacking him, saying he's gonna kill him, to another situation where he goes charging into another old friend's house because he's gonna apologize to him, violently apologize to them. And he had to be hauled out of there by the police, and then just acted like a complete fool. You heard 14 minutes of just abuse that officer took, all for the audacity of stopping him from doing something more serious than house. Threats that when he posted bail, he was gonna come back and kill all those people because they wouldn't let him apologize. Again, more and more examples of just him unleashing fury on anybody within arm's reach. The treatment of the nurse or the nurses and medical staff at OSF is just abhorrent. You can't ignore the evidence of all these other instances of prior delinquency when rendering your judgment. Additionally, a sentence is necessary to deter others. We say that in every case, but no crime carries with it more need to deter others from committing a crime other than murder. It can't be undone. It's a bell that can't be unrung. We consider this ultimately one of the foremost crimes in our culture. Stern punishment is absolutely necessary to get a point across that you can't do it. You know, saying it out loud just almost doesn't do it justice. You can't take it away. Leo can't come back. The defendant committed this offense while he's out on pretrial release or bail for a prior felony. Not just any felony. His own father posted $5,000 to get him out of custody on a home invasion, and this is what happened. It's hard to let the thought of that sink in. On Father's Day weekend, the guy that posted his bail gets murdered. Obviously, the defendant's conduct caused and threatened serious harm. Leo Petrie's dead as a result of it. I argue that Julie Petrie was at an awful lot of risk that evening as well. Not only the shock to her system, an elderly lady discovering this scenario in her living room floor, that her son's dead, the guy who helps her in her everyday life, is now dead at the hands of her grandson. But not only that, her grandson's asking her for help to try to dispose of the body. So consider the situation Julie Petrie's in now. Her son passed away at the hands of her grandson. He's strangled to death in a pool of his own blood on her own living room. And ultimately, Judge, I ask you to consider the testimony of the defendant himself, both in the interviews that he gave to the Marseilles police and the testimony given here in court. There's no remorse for what he did to his father. None at all. Instead, he slanders his father's what name he had. He slandered him. He's calling him a pedophile. Calling him abusive when he's the only one who's manifested that. He's the only one who's manufactured that. Everybody else in life, Leo might have been tough on his son from an emotional standpoint. There's probably facts to support that. There's no facts to support that he was abusive to his kid. That's all Logan trying to justify his actions. Guilt heaped on his own grandmother for turning him in, for not helping him hide the body. Frustration that he was gonna go to jail, not that of what he did to himself. And ultimately, the most despicable part of this entire thing, the language that he keeps using at the end about how he's angry that his father didn't die more slowly. And his ultimate glee at the fact that he was the one who had to do it, who got to do it. I can count on my hand the amount of cases I've asked for maximum sentence. There's always something to lean on that justifies maybe being a little lenient. The law usually requires and suggests that the court should temper its justice with mercy. I just don't see that. The protection of the public from the state's perspective demands more than that. Logan Petrie needs to be put in prison for every minute he's got available. So I'm asking for 60 years.
Thank you, Honor. First of all, I agree with the state with respect to that only one sentence here. And secondly, I agree with the state with respect to the fines and costs, their calculation. And I believe that the custodial credit is correct as well. With respect to the severe bodily harm finding that they're requesting, Your Honor, I would suggest that that's inherent to the offense. So I would request that you not make that finding, Your Honor. This is a tragic situation. There's no question about that. Logan and his father had a complicated relationship. Leo is obviously a very popular guy around town, but from Logan's perspective, Leo was overly critical. Logan felt that he was a bully. At trial, Logan talked about times when he was physically abused by his father. And just because we didn't hear from witnesses doesn't mean that did not happen. Logan relayed there was mental abuse as well, and in the PSI that we have, that also supports the idea that Logan had been physically and mentally abused. Logan was 21 years old on the day of this incident. He was a kid. I know he was of age, but he's 21 years old when this happened. He's 22 years old today. His sentencing range is anywhere between 20 and 60 years to be served at 100%. There's no question Logan suffered injuries from that struggle. We saw it. We saw the photographs, Your Honor. He said his father headbutted him at least 2 times, and photographs support that testimony. Logan had been drinking. Leo had been drinking, and we know that Leo also had cocaine in his system on that evening. The unrebutted testimony shows that Leo is the one who attacked Logan first. Claire or Julie, she was in the house, but she didn't see anything, and she didn't hear anything. Obviously, Leo Petrie passed away as a result of the incident, but the legislature has determined that someone who commits this crime is eligible to serve as low as 20 years in the Department of Corrections. To take into the account the injuries suffered by Leo, or the fact that he in fact died, would be inappropriate, I would suggest, Your Honor. Those facts are inherent to the offense. Mr. Petrie, we heard, and Your Honor is well aware, he has some pending charges. But when we look at the PSI, he really has no prior criminal history other than traffic matters. State put on evidence of other charges, but Mr. Petrie, again, presumed innocent of those allegations. He also has a right to remain silent, and of course, he's not here today to defend those allegations, so it becomes a little bit difficult. But obviously, he's not been convicted of those offenses, so I would ask that you disregard or at least minimize any weight to that information. Mr. Petrie cooperated with the PSI, but he refused to give certain information. It's unusual. He didn't want, for example, didn't want to give his mother's last name. Didn't want to provide the names of his half siblings, but he didn't want to be disrespectful. Logan is a high school graduate, and he attended 1 year of college. For a person of his age, he had a good work history according to the PSI, and the establishment he worked at in Marseilles confirmed that he was a very good worker. Mr. Petrie does have medical issues. He's in need of additional surgeries. He's reported suffering from falls in the last few months. According to PSI, he reports that he, quote, feels like he's going insane, end quote, and he wants some sort of mental health treatment. He reports that he was under the influence at the time of this incident. There certainly appears to be a connection between alcohol use and Mr. Petrie finding himself in trouble with the law. I note in the PSI, there's apparently no victim impact statement that was completed. Logan appears to have been a good kid. He made it through high school, started college. He's at apparently all decided that maybe he wants to be around Logan or thinks to be around him at some point. I don't have an answer as to what happened, but I would certainly suggest that Logan is a person who is and has been in dire need of mental health treatment. It's obvious to me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate as to his diagnosis, but there has to be a reason that a kid finds himself in this position as a young man still who formerly had his life on track. I sincerely hope that Mr. Petrie can find some treatment while incarcerated. If he can get a proper diagnosis and hopefully medication, I do feel that he would be a person who can be released back into society, be rehabilitated, and I sincerely hope he's given that opportunity, Your Honor. He's 23 years old today. Even a minimum sentence of 20 years is almost as many years as he has been on this planet. So it is a significant number. Your Honor, I would suggest that Logan Petrie has potential if he can become well, and for that reason, I'm going to ask that you impose the minimum sentence. Thank you.
As the board indicated, Mr. Petrie is present to make a statement about the issue. Just as a matter of housekeeping, People's Exhibit number 2 will not be admitted. To begin, the court does find under 1 Act 1 crime that the defendant will be sentenced on count 1. Counts 2 and 3 merge into count 1. Judgment will enter on count 1 only. Convictions on counts 2 and 3 are vacated. The court has before it a 23-year-old man who is unemployed with no dependents. The court has considered the evidence presented at trial, the pre-sentence investigation, the evidence offered in aggravation, the arguments of the parties as to sentencing, and relevant statutory factors in case law. First of all, with respect to factors in mitigation, I've tried. I have really tried. He's young. Mr. Petrie is a young man. I considered his claim that he acted under strong provocation. That was based on the self-serving statements given at trial that the court did not find to be credible. The court does not believe that Leo Petrie was the danger. In this situation, the court believes the defendant was the danger. And so the court does not find that the defendant acted under strong provocation. I have reviewed whether the defendant's criminal conduct was the result of circumstances unlikely to occur. First of all, we have a defendant who is out on bond, and it was the bond that his father posted in the home invasion matter. And while he's on bond, he commits other offenses, including this offense. And so I agree with the state that you certainly can't commit first-degree murder as to Leo Petrie because Leo Petrie is no longer here. But I cannot find that his conduct was the result of circumstances unlikely to occur. I have considered whether the character and attitudes of the defendant indicate he's unlikely to commit another crime. I absolutely cannot find that that's the case. The court has considered the evidence presented today in aggravation. It is clear to the court that Mr. Petrie is a danger to everyone. He is a danger to those who testified today. Specifically, the court heard evidence regarding the incident that occurred with respect to the home invasion that's charged and is pending before the court. Brent Sampson testified that Logan Petrie was an just the continued erratic, combative, extremely verbally abusive, vulgar, aggressive nature of Mr. Petrie during that time, as well as the court's own observations and interactions with Mr. Petrie, not only today, but on September 5th, 2025. I can't find that his character and attitudes indicate he's unlikely to commit another crime. The court has considered all factors in mitigation. With respect to factors in aggravation, the court has considered that the defendant has a history of prior delinquency or criminal activity. Again, he's on court supervision for a DUI when this incident occurred. He's on, out on bond in home invasion and aggravated battery offenses. So he committed the offense of first degree murder while he's out on bond, home invasion and aggravated battery case. And then the court saw video today and heard evidence as to another aggravated battery that was committed against another inmate in the jail. That was horrific. That was a horrific beating that the court witnessed today. The court has also considered the sentences necessary to deter others from committing the same crime. And I recognize that's something that is always, nearly always argued by the people, but the court finds that this sentence is necessary to deter others from committing the same crime. With respect to the people's request that the defendant's action cause severe bodily harm, I think that's inherent to the offense. I'm not going to find that. I know that it's solely for the